Good evening, everyone. It's Saturday evening, the 12th, and I'm preparing this for Sunday morning, the 13th. And this evening, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the last chapter of Mark, 16th chapter of Mark. This is the account of the resurrection as well as the account of the ascension back to heaven by Christ. One of the things I like about the author Mark is he's very matter-of-factly. He doesn't draw out his words. He makes everything very, very direct. He uses a lot of ands just to connect one event to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. In fact, if he uses the word and once, he uses it almost in every one of his verses that he's describing what went forth. I imagine if you were to count the number of ands, there's 20 verses in here. And I imagine you'd have at least 15 ands in the 20 verses. Anyway, starts out and says, when the Sabbath was past, Mary Magdalene and Mary the mother of Jesus and Salome had bought sweet spices that they might come and anoint him. So we have 3 women, including Mary's mother, that came to the tomb. And early in the morning, the first day of the week, they came unto the sepulchre at the rising of the sun. And they said among themselves, who shall roll us away the stone from the door of the sepulchre? And when they looked, they saw that the stone was rolled away, for it was very great. And entering into the sepulchre, they saw a young man sitting on the right side, clothed in a long white garment, and they were affrighted. Well, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be if you went there to anoint a body that you thought you were going to anoint a dead body, and you walk into this grave, and there's a young man sitting there clothed in a long white garment, And he saith unto him, be not affrighted, ye seek Jesus of Nazareth, which was crucified. He is risen, he's not here. Behold the place where they laid him. So here he's announcing to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Mary Magdalene and Salome, that Christ had risen from the dead. But go your way, tell his disciples and Peter. Isn't that interesting? He doesn't just say go tell his disciples. He specifically says and Peter. Go your way, tell his disciples and Peter that he goeth before you into Galilee. There shall ye see him, as he said unto you. And they went out quickly and fled from the sepulchre, for they trembled and were amazed. Neither said they anything to any man, for they were afraid. Now when Jesus was risen early the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary Magdalene, out of whom he had cast 7 devils. Isn't that amazing? That's who he appeared first to. He did not appear first to the disciples. He did not appear first to his mother, but he appeared first to Mary Magdalene. And she went and told them that had been with him, as they mourned and wept. And they, when they had heard that he was alive and had been seen of her, believed not. You know, it's just a natural thing when you're told something like this, not to believe it, but not just think there's something wrong, you know. And after he appeared in another form, now isn't that interesting? He appeared in another form unto two of them as they walked into the country. He appeared in another form. What's that talking about? Well, in other words, I think he appeared in such a way that it wouldn't give him away right off the bat as to who he was. And they went and told it unto the residue, neither believed they them. Afterwards he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. And then he gives what often has been called the Great Commission, and it's a little different in the other Gospels, but he says, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. So far be it from me to say I'm against going into all the world and preaching the gospel to every creature if God commands us to do it. And I've heard some old school Baptists that have talked against going into all the world and preaching the gospel to every creature. Who are they to come against Christ? Now, it's true that most religious orders are not preaching the gospel. They're preaching another gospel. But I've often said that's the reason why, one of the reasons why I'm on social media platforms, and it's also one of the reasons why I'm on sermon audio. But I am preaching the gospel. I'm not preaching another gospel. He says, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. He does not say here, he that is baptized not shall be damned. He doesn't make baptism a absolute necessity for salvation, but he does say, he that believeth not shall be damned. Well, the person who does not believe is not a recipient of God's grace, are they? The person who does not believe in finality is a reprobate, a vessel fitted for destruction. He then says, these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, they shall speak with new tongues, they shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover. In other words, what he's saying here, what Christ is saying here is, it will be manifested by the things these people do that they are one of God's elect. And then it says, so then after the Lord had spoken, then he was received up into heaven and sat on the right hand of God. He is seated at the right hand of God right now, making intercession for you and I, if you're one of God's elect. And then it says, and they went forth and preached everywhere. They went forth and preached everywhere. The Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs following. The signs following are the signs that Mark says is going to happen. You know, in the 18th verse. So anyway, a lot is covered in this chapter. And I think the most important thing in the chapter, I mean, it's all important. It's all important. But I think it's pretty important that it says there in the he says in the 14th verse, afterward he appeared unto the 11 as they sat at meat, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen. You know, well, Christ has a way of causing us to believe. I guarantee you, after that event, every one of the disciples believed, didn't they? Except the son of perdition, who was foretold in the Old Testament that he would betray Christ with 30 pieces of silver. So, but the thing that I want to point out here is that there is no there's a clear understanding after Christ comes and shows himself to them that he is in fact the Christ, and that's why they decided to proclaim his name, like he said, throughout all the earth. And his name has been proclaimed ever since. Well, I hope you have a good weekend this weekend, and let us always remember that Christ has finished the work that he came to do, and he's seated at the right hand of God making intercession for us. God bless.